Ibadan. My name is Pius Nsabe. First, the top stories. Obasanjo, Soyinka, Falano, Lampoon Buhari over Lekki shootings. Many voice outrage in South Africa as United Nations ECOWAS condemn shooting of protesters in Nigeria. Uneasy calm grips Ibadan as Abatan urges Makinde to take action against hoodlums. And in sport, Igalo slams Buhari's government over NSAS killings. Now the news in full. Condemnations have trailed the shootings of protesters demanding police reform, with the latest coming from former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Chief Obasanjo advised President Muhammadu Buhari to restrain the military and other security agencies from using brute force as a way of ending the crisis. The former president spoke this afternoon, a day after soldiers allegedly shot protesters in Lekki, Lagos. Obasanjo blamed Buhari for escalating violence and clashes in several parts of the country. He, however, called on the Nigerian youth to sheathe their sword, giving government a chance for dialogue. Similarly, Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka has condemned the shootings of peaceful protesters in Lekki, Lagos State last night, saying the army has replaced the notorious Special Anti-Robbery Squad SARS. In a statement today, Professor Soyinka accused the federal government of acting in an authoritarian manner by deploying armed soldiers on the protesters. Soyinka was of the view that Nigeria has been returned to the days of the military. And in the same vein, a human rights lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, has condemned the killings of protesters in Lekki Toll Gate, Lagos State, by the Nigerian army, allegedly. Falana, who appealed to the Nigerian youths to be calm, said the act was an unjust one that is least expected by the present administration in the country. Asked if the NSAS protest would have abated if President Muhammadu Buhari had addressed Nigerians on their agitation, Falana answered in the affirmative. Reports reaching us say protesters were once again converging on the Lekki tailgate to make the same demands of better governance in the country. In the meantime, hundreds of people have taken to the streets in South Africa to voice outrage at the shooting of peaceful demonstrators in Nigeria. Africa's most populous country has faced growing unrest as protests over brutality by the police ballooned into wider grievances against the government. On Wednesday, demonstrators draped in the national flag of Nigeria and chanting liberation slogans marched to the Nigerian embassy in Pretoria carrying placards. Another group in Cape Town, mostly Nigerian nationals, vowed to continue picketing until there was a change in the country. Meanwhile, the United Nations and the Economic Communities of West Africa, ECOWAS, have condemned the killings that accompanied the protests in Nigeria, urging the government to investigate the incidents and hold the perpetrators to account. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu says nobody was killed in last night's shooting in Lekki Toll Gate, where NSAS protesters had converged. Some soldiers had allegedly rounded up the protesters and shooting directly at them, with some persons said to have been killed, while many injured. But Sanwo-Olu, in a statewide broadcast today, said he was saddened by the incident, but insisted that, contrary to media reports, nobody was killed.
For clarity, it is imperative to explain that no sitting governor controls the rules of engagement of the military. I have nonetheless instructed an investigation into the ordered and the adopted rules of engagement employed by the officers and men of the Nigerian army that were deployed to the Lekki toll gate last night. This is with a view to taking this up with the higher command of the Nigerian army and to seek the intervention of Mr. President in his capacity as the Commander-in-Chief to unravel the sequence of events that happened yesterday night.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian army has denied being involved in the massacre of peaceful protesters at the Lekki toll gate. Irate youths have set ablaze the family home of Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. They also attacked the palace of the Oba of Lagos, Oba Rinwan Akiolu, cutting away his staff of office after destroying cars parked in the palace. Meanwhile, the Television Continental TVC, some BRT buses, and the Nigerian Port Authority, all in Lagos State, were also set on fire. Channels TV Mars was also reportedly attacked, leading to a temporary shutting down of the station, while one of its staff, Ayo Makinde, was attacked while giving a live report from the scene of the TVC fire. And a Lagos-based security expert, Ona Ekomu, has raised alarm that some hoodlums have taken over the Ajah police station in Lagos and have also declared themselves police officers, bearing arms belonging to the police and wearing their uniforms. Mr. Ekomu, who spoke this evening on a monitored program, urged security operatives to move to the area to protect the lives of the citizens.
They went to a brutal area and overran the police station, took their guns, took their uniforms, and then went further to attack all those Lagos island targets, including the Oba's Palace. So, once they are armed, it's like what they did here in Ajah. They took the arms, and then they now had a rapid fire capability. They took some long guns that they seized from the police station. Of course, they took all the AKs, but they took some long guns, and they had some problem trying to learn how the mechanism of cocking the long guns to be able to fire it adequately. But when they did, they became, adept at it very quickly. So the point here is that we have a station where there is a gradual descent to anarchy. And I hope that the state government and secondly the federal government is not going to sit by and let this happen. Because this is not about protesters right now. Let me tell you my own take on it. Protesters, that's those peaceful guys that we've been talking about, that we knew that will soon be hijacked by hoodlums. Those ones are mostly off the street. Because they understand now that, look, there's a curfew and they need to fall back, as it were. But what has happened is that the hoodlums, can I come down for you? You have cultists, you have area boys, you have all manners of miscreants that are here. In fact, the ones that are here, you have some cult gangs that are in with their traditional uniform and all, doing their thing. So what I'm trying to say is that you have a rapidly deteriorating situation which really needs immediate answer. Now, this is the time to call out the military, not last night at what happened at the toll plaza. This is the time to call out the military. Have these guys come on, and I've been calling for Mesa since morning. Let them come and ride patrols here. We need them at this time.
Meanwhile, hoodlums have also stormed the Igboshire High Court in Lagos, carting away items and wearing lawyers' apparel at the court's premises. At least 9 persons have been reportedly shot in Ondo State as security agencies intensify efforts to enforce the riots by hoodlums in the streets of Akure and environs. The hoodlums mounted barricades in several parts of Akure, the state capital. Witnesses said the 9 persons were shot by security agents who were moving around the town to disperse the protesters. It was gathered that the injured persons were rushed to various hospitals within the area for medical attention, but no death was recorded. There is uneasy calm in most parts of Ibadan, the Oyo state capital, after days of protest, which culminated in the killing and burning of the Ojo police station yesterday. Pensioners FM correspondent Anu Oluwapo Fasoyi, who monitored situations around New Garage, Tollgate, Challenge, Molete, Idiare, Ojoba, Uje, Total Garden, and Secretariat, observed that Operation Burst were on patrol to ensure peace and normalcy. Though ashes of burnt tires, dry gin sachet, broken bottles, and other consumables littered the roads, people were going to their various businesses without interruption, while there was no sign of protest. This is unlike a few days ago when the NSAS protesters blocked Challenge, New Garage, Songo Road to Mokola Roundabout, Secretariat, and preventing people from going to their various places of work. But in a different part of Ibadan, NSAS protesters mounted barricades and prevented residents from moving. At Adetokun Junction along Eleele and Ologueru Road, an 80-year-old man severally pleaded to them to allow him go for medical attention, but was denied passage. However, motorcyclists in the area have been having a good day as they hiked transport fare. Pensioners FM correspondent reports that security agencies were not seen in the area as at the time of filing in this report. Some filling stations hurriedly shut to avert danger, while some youth turned major roads to football field. Meanwhile, the Executive Secretary of the Nigeria Union of Pensioners, or your State Council, Comrade Olusegun Abatan, warns Governor Seyi Makinde to wade into the security breach in parts of the state occasioned by the NSAS protest to save the lives of innocent citizens. Comrade Abatan, in a statement, narrated his ordeal in the hands of hoodlums at Wakajai area of Ibadan, saying he was among some of the citizens pelted with various items, noting that he had to run for his dear life. Comrade Abaton, who is also the Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director of Pensioners Global Venture, owners of Pensioners FM, said the hoodlums are capitalizing on the governor's directive that police should not interfere in the NSAS protests to unleash mayhem on the people. This is News at Sunset on Pensioners 106.7 FM. Let's now talk some labor and pension stories. The Nigeria Union of Pensioners, NUP Oyo State Council, has felicitated former Permanent Secretary of Oyo State Local Government Pensions Board, Comrade Bayo Titilola Sodo, on his appointment as the Special Advisor to Governor Seyi Makinde on labor matters. In the release jointly signed by the Acting Chairman of the Union, Chief Isiaka Abolade, and the Executive Secretary, Comrade Olusegun Abatan, Oyo State Pensioners described the appointment of Comrade Titilola Sodo as a round peg in a round hole. The union also lauded Oyo State Governor for his courage to have identified a new special advisor on labor matters for the appointment. Comrade Titilola Sodo is the immediate past chairman of the Nigeria Labour Congress in Oyo State. Reports say the federal government has agreed to pay the arrears of minimum wage to members of the Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions, NASU, and Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU. According to reports, the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation has been given 2 weeks to compute the arrears from April 2019 to January 2020 and sent to the Federal Ministry of Education for processing. And in the world of sport, Manchester United striker Iroyin has said he is ashamed of the Nigerian government following reports that soldiers opened fire on protesters in the Lekki district of the commercial capital in Lagos. Nigerians have been peacefully protesting nationwide for more than 2 weeks against Nigeria Police Force Unit SARS brutality, extortion, and other issues.
I'm not the kind of guy that talks about politics, but I can't keep quiet anymore for what is going on back home in Nigeria. I would say Nigerian government, you guys are ashamed to the world for killing your own citizens, sending military to the streets to kill unarmed protesters because they are protesting for their rights. It's uncalled for. 20th of October 2020, you people will be remembered in the history as the first government that sent military to the city to start killing their own citizens. I am ashamed of this government.
Former international Iroyin reacting to the alleged killings of Nigerians at the Lekki toll gate. And to end News at Sunset, here is a recap of the top stories. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo, Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka, and human rights lawyer Femi Falana, as well as the United Nations and ECOWAS, have all condemned last night's attack on peaceful protesters at the Lekki toll gate in Lagos. Hundreds of people have taken to the streets in South Africa to voice outrage at the shooting of peaceful demonstrators in Nigeria. Uneasy calm today rented the air of Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, a day after some persons lost their lives in the NSAS protests, as Oyo State pensioners scribe, Comrade Olusegun Abatan, urged Governor Seyi Makinde to intervene in checking the activities of hoodlums taking advantage of the protest to unleash mayhem. And in sport, former Super Eagles player Odion Igalo has slammed the Buhari government over last night's shooting in Lekki. My name is Pius Nsabe. Thanks for listening. Do have yourself a lovely night rest.
Ẹ kú dédé wòyí, ìròyìn àṣálẹ́ ló ń dé sétí gbọ̀yìn láti kànnì rédíò àgbàlódé pensioners 106.7 tó kalẹ̀ sí àgbárígo onírèké Ìbàdàn. Ṣáájú ẹgbẹ́ àwọn àrígbámú inú ìròyìn. Ọbásanjọ́, Ṣóyínká, Fálànà bẹnu àtẹ́ lu Buhari lórí ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ tó wáyé lágbègbè Lẹ́kì lálẹ́ àná. Àwọn kan ké gbàjarè tako ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ náà nílùú South Africa. Ìbẹ̀rùbojo máwọn èèyàn nílùú Ìbàdàn lónìí nígbà tí àbátan rọ Mákindé láti gbégbésẹ̀ lórí àwọn ọmọ ṣọ̀tá. Lábala eré ìdárayá, Ìgalò fẹnu tẹ́ńbẹ́lú ìjọba Buhari lórí bí wọ́n ṣe ń ṣekú pa àwọn olùwọ́de. Ìròyìn ọ̀hún rèé lẹ́kùnrẹ́rẹ́ látẹnu Ànolúàpọ̀ Fásọyìn. Ààrẹ nígbà kan rí lórílẹ̀‐èdè yìí olóyè Olúṣẹ́gun Ọbásanjọ́ ti nàka àléébù sáàrẹ Muhammadu Buhari gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹni tó ṣokùnfà ìfẹ̀míṣòfò tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ jákèjádò orílẹ̀‐èdè yìí nínú ìwọ́de ṣíṣe àtúntò iléeṣẹ́ ọlọ́pàá. Olóyè Ọbásanjọ́ ṣe ìbẹnu àtẹ́lù yìí lọ́sàn-án òní sí báwọn ọmọ ológun ṣe ń kọjú ìbọn sáwọn olùwọ́de tí ò mú nǹkan ìjà dání lágbègbè Lẹ́kì nípínlẹ̀ Èkó. Ó sì gba ààrẹ Buhari nímọ̀ràn láti pàṣẹ fáwọn ọmọ ológun àtàwọn òṣìṣẹ́ aláàbò gbogbo láti má ṣe fipá máwọn olùfẹ̀hónúhàn fòpin sí ìwọ́de náà mọ́. Ọ̀kan òjọ̀kan ìbẹnu àtẹ́lù ló ń wáyé lẹ́yìn ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ ìkọjúìjà sáwọn olùwọ́de eléyìí tó wáyé látọwọ́ àwọn ọmọ ológun. Bákan náà ní gbajúgbajà afigègé dábìrà ní ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n Wọlé Ṣóyínká ti bẹnu àtẹ́lù báwọn ológun ṣe kọjú ìjà sáwọn olùfẹ̀hónúhàn lágbègbè Lẹ́kì lánàá. Ó sì wòye pé àwọn ọmọ ológun ti rọ́pò àwọn ikọ̀ SARS nínú dídá ẹ̀mí àwọn ọmọ Nàìjíríà légbodò. Ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n Ṣóyínká nínú àtẹ̀jáde tó fi léde ṣàpèjúwe bíjọba àpapọ̀ ṣe rán àwọn ọmọ ológun láti lọ gbéná kojú àwọn olùwọ́de gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìwà ìjẹgàba. Lérò rẹ̀, ó ló dàbí ẹni pé orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà ti padà sọ́wọ́ àwọn ọmọ ológun báyìí. Nínú ìròyìn tó dàbí rẹ̀, ajàfẹ́tọ̀ọ́ ọmọnìyàn ní amòfin Fẹ́mi Fálànà ti kọminú síṣẹ̀lẹ̀ táwọn ọmọ ológun ti dẹ́mi àwọn olùwọ́de légbodò lágbègbè Lẹ́kì nípínlẹ̀ Èkó. Fálànà wòye pé àwọn olùfẹ̀hónúhàn bá ti sinmi agbaja ká ní pé ààrẹ ti yọjú síta láti báwọn ọmọ ilẹ̀ yìí sọ̀rọ̀. Ó rọ àwọn ọ̀dọ́ láti sìnmẹ̀dọ̀. Ó sì jẹ́ kó di mọ̀ pé nǹkan tíjọba àpapọ̀ ṣe kù díẹ̀ káàtó tó sì yani lẹ́nu gidigidi. Ní báyìí náà, ogunlọ́gọ̀ àwọn olùgbé àtàwọn ọmọ Nàìjíríà tó fi orílẹ̀-èdè South Africa ṣebùgbé ti fọ́n sígboro ìlú ọ̀hún láti ké gbàjarè sígboro ayé lórí bí wọ́n ṣe ń yìnbọn sáwọn olùfẹ̀hónúhàn nílẹ̀ Nàìjíríà. Wọ́n mú àsíá orílẹ̀-èdè yìí lọ́wọ́ lónírúurú, bẹ́ẹ̀ ni wọ́n sì ń kọrin òmìnira lọ sílé iṣẹ́ aṣojú orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà sílẹ̀ South Africa tó ń bẹ nílùú Pretoria. Àwọn ẹgbẹ́ míì nílùú Cape Town tọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ wọn jẹ́ ọmọ Nàìjíríà táwọn náà ṣèwọ́de jẹ́jẹ́ láti tẹ̀síwájú títí táyípadà rere ó fi bá ilẹ̀ Nàìjíríà. Gómìnà ìpínlẹ̀ Èkó Babájídé Sanwó-Olú sọ pé ẹ̀mí kankan ò ṣòfò lálẹ́ àná nígbà táwọn ọmọ ológun ṣínà ìbọn bo àwọn olùwọ́de lágbègbè Lẹ́kì. Nígbà tó ń bá àwọn ará ìpínlẹ̀ Èkó sọ̀rọ̀ lórí ẹ̀rọ amóhùnmáwòrán, ó sì fa ìdùnnú rẹ̀ hàn síṣẹ̀lẹ̀ náà, ṣùgbọ́n ó gbọ́n mú sáwọn ìròyìn tó gbé pé àwọn kan dẹni ilẹ̀ níbi ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ ọ̀hún. Ó fi kún pé òun ti lọ ṣàbẹ̀wò sáwọn tó farapa nínú ìkọlù náà. Bẹ́ẹ̀ sì rèé, iléeṣẹ́ ọmọ ológun ilẹ̀ Nàìjíríà kọ̀ jálẹ̀ páwọn ò lọ́wọ́ nínú kíkọjú ìjà sáwọn olùwọ́de alálàáfíà lágbègbè Lẹ́kì nípínlẹ̀ Èkó. Ìròyìn jẹ́ kó di mímọ̀ páwọn ọ̀dọ́ agbègbè Ìràté kan náà lu ilé àwọn ẹbí gómìnà ìpínlẹ̀ Èkó Babájídé Sanwó-Olú Bákan náà ni wọ́n tún kọlu ààfin ọba ìlú Èkó, Ọba Rilwan Akinlolú. Wọ́n gbé ọ̀pá àṣẹ lọ, wọ́n sì ba àwọn ọkọ̀ ọlọ́yẹ́ jẹ́. Kódà àwọn kan tún lọ finá sílé iṣẹ́ amóhùnmáwòrán aládàáni kan TVC àti sáwọn ọkọ̀ akérò ńláńlá tí wọ́n ń dàpè ní BRT nílùú Èkó tó fi mọ́ iléeṣẹ́ àjọ tó ń rí sí ọkọ̀ ojú omi nípínlẹ̀ náà. Kò tán síbẹ̀ o, àwọn kan tún lọ kọlu ọ̀kan nínú àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ iléeṣẹ́ amóhùnmáwòrán Channels, Ayọ̀ Mákindé, lákòókò tó ń jábọ̀ ìròyìn ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ TVC. Èyí ló sì mú kí iléeṣẹ́ Channels kó gbà wọlé fúngbà díẹ̀ lọ́sàn-án òní. Ó kéré tán àwọn èèyàn mẹ́sàn-án níròyìn jẹ́ kó di mímọ̀ pé ìbọn bà nípínlẹ̀ Ondo nígbà táwọn òṣìṣẹ́ elétò ààbò ń gbìyànjú láti fòpin sí rúkèrúdò tó bẹ́ sílẹ̀ látọwọ́ àwọn ọmọ ìṣọ̀ta láwọn agbègbè kan nílùú Àkúrẹ́. Àwọn tíṣẹ̀lẹ̀ ọ̀hún ṣojú wọn jẹ́ kó di mímọ̀ páwọn tíbọn bá ọ̀hún ló ń gbìyànjú láti sá àsálà fẹ́mi wọn nígbà tí àwọn olùfẹ̀hónúhàn tí wọ́n sì gbé wọn lọ sáwọn ilé ìwòsàn tó wà lárọ̀ọ́wọ́tó níbi tí wọ́n ti dóòlà ẹ̀mí wọn. Ìròyìn fi kún pé àwọn ọmọ ìṣọ̀ta ló ya bo àwọn apá ibìkan nílùú Àkúrẹ́ tí í ṣe olúùlú ìpínlẹ̀ Ondo. Ti bẹ̀rù bojo làwọn èèyàn fi ń rìn nílùú Ìbàdàn tí í ṣolúùlú ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ lónìí lẹ́yìn bóòlù ìyàmí tó wáyé látara ìwọ́de fífòpin sí ikọ̀ SARS lánàá, èyí tó yọrí sí ìṣekúpani àti dídáná sun iléeṣẹ́ ọlọ́pàá tó ń bẹ lágbègbè Ọjọ́. Akọ̀ròyìn wa tó ṣàbẹ̀wò sáwọn agbègbè bíi New Garage, Tollgate, Challenge, Mọ̀lété, Ìdí-Arẹrẹ, Ọjà'ba, Òjé, Total Garden àti Secretariat jábọ̀ pé àwọn ikọ̀ Operation Burst pàráàrò káàkiri láti rí i dájú pé àlàáfíà jọba. Bó tilẹ̀ jẹ́ pé àfọ́kù ìgò, àsunkùn táyà, ọ̀rá ògógóró àtàwọn nǹkan mímu tó lágbára míì wà láwọn ojú ọ̀nà gbogbo. Síbẹ̀ àwọn èèyàn rójú ráyè láti lọ síbi iṣẹ́ àti síbi ìdókòwò wọn, yàtọ̀ sí bí gbogbo rẹ̀ ṣe dípa láti bí ọjọ́ mélòó kan sẹ́yìn, pàápàá jùlọ láwọn agbègbè bíi Challenge, Sango sí Mọ́kọ́lá, New Garage, Secretariat àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Ẹ rántí pé gómìnà Mákindé pàṣẹ pé káwọn ikọ̀ Operation Burst mójútó àwọn agbègbè tí nǹkan ti le koko bíi Ẹ̀yìn Àfọ̀gùn àti káwọn ilé ẹ̀kọ́ wà ní títìpaná títí tí yóò fi di ìparí ọ̀sẹ̀ yìí. Àmọ́ o, ọ̀rọ̀ ò rí bẹ́ẹ̀ láwọn apá ibòmíràn nílùú Ìbàdàn tí wọ́n sì tàpá sófin gómìnà ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ nígbà táwọn olùwọ́de kan lu agbègbè Adétòkun lọ́nà Ẹlẹ́yẹlé àti Ológun Ẹrú pa. Kódà wọ́n kọ̀ láti fún bàbá kan ẹni 80 ọdún tó rawọ́ ẹ̀bẹ̀ sí wọn láti fún un lọ́nà kọjá lọ sílé ìwòsàn fún ìtọ́jú ara rẹ̀. Bákan náà làwọn ọlọ́kadà gbowó gege lé nǹkan ìrìnsẹ̀ wọn. Akọ̀ròyìn wa tó wà lágbègbè náà jábọ̀ pé kò sí òṣìṣẹ́ aláàbò ẹyọ kan báyìí ńbẹ̀ láti dá àwọn olùwọ́de lọ́wọ́ kọ. Bẹ́ẹ̀ làwọn ilé epo yára gbélé ìtajà wọn ti pa, táwọn ọ̀dọ́ sì ń gbá bọ́ọ̀lù aláfẹsẹ̀gbá láwọn ojú òpópónà. Wàyí o, akọ̀wé àgbà ẹgbẹ́ àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ fẹ̀yìntì nípìnlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́, Comrade Olúṣẹ́gun Àbátàn fẹ́ kí gómìnà ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ onímọ̀-ẹ̀rọ Ṣèyí Mákindé gbégbésẹ̀ kánmọ́nkíá sí báwọn ọmọ ìṣọ̀ta ṣe ń ṣàmúlò ìwọ́de fífòpin sí ikọ̀ SARS láti fi kọlu àwọn aráàlú tí wọ́n sì ń pọ́n wọn lójú. Nínú àtẹ̀jáde kan tó fi léde, ó sì ṣàlàyé ìrírí rẹ̀ lọ́wọ́ àwọn ọmọ ìṣọ̀ta lágbègbè Wákàjáyé. Ó jẹ́ kó di mímọ̀ páwọn onítọ̀hún ń ṣàmúlò bí gómìnà ṣe pàṣẹ pé káwọn ọlọ́pàá mọ́ lọ́wọ́ nínú títọ́sọ́nà àti dídáàbòbò àwọn olùfẹ̀hónúhàn láti fi ní àwọn aráàlú lára. Ìròyìn àṣálẹ́ ló ń dé sétí ìgbọ̀nyín láti kàn ní Pensioners 106.7. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n dánu dúró díẹ̀ náà, tá a bá padà dé a ó mú ìròyìn wá fún yín lábala eré ìdárayá. Ẹ káàbọ̀ padà. Ìròyìn eré ìdárayá. Agbọ́wọ́wájú ẹgbẹ́ agbábọ́ọ̀lù Manchester United, Odion Ighalo ti jẹ́ kó di mímọ̀ pójú gbóhùn tì fúnjọba orílẹ̀-èdè yìí pẹ̀lú bí wọ́n ṣe gba àwọn ọmọ ológun láàyè láti lọ ṣínà bo àwọn olùwọ́de lágbègbè Lẹ́kì. Ìgàlò tó ní òun kì í fẹ́ dá sí ọ̀rọ̀ tó bá ní ṣe pẹ̀lú òṣèlú jẹ́ kó di mọ̀ lójú òpó abẹ́yẹfò bóun lè panu òun mọ́ òun lórí nǹkan tó ń lọ lọ́wọ́ yìí lórílẹ̀‐èdè Nàìjíríà. Ìròyìn àṣálẹ́ wa fún tòní kò ní jù báyìí lọ, ṣùgbọ́n kí n tó dánu dúró ẹ gbọ́ àwọn àrígbámú inú rẹ̀ lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí i. Ọbásanjọ́, Ṣóyínká, Fálànà bẹnu àtẹ́ lu Buhari lórí ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ tó wáyé lágbègbè Lẹ́kì lálẹ́ àná. Àwọn kan ké gbàjarè tako ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ náà nílùú South Africa. Ìbẹ̀rùbojo máwọn èèyàn nílùú Ìbàdàn lónìí nígbà tí àbátan rọ Mákindé láti gbégbésẹ̀ lórí àwọn ọmọ ìṣọ̀ta. Lábala eré ìdárayá láti mú wá fún yín pé Odion Igalo fẹnu tẹ́ńbẹ́lú ìjọba Muhammadu Buhari lórí bí wọ́n ṣe ń ṣekú pa àwọn olùwọ́de. Pius Nsabẹ lolóòtú ìròyìn, Anoluapọ̀ Fásọyìn ló mú wá sétí gbọ̀yìn. Kásùn rè o.
Ó kájú rẹ̀ pensioners kájú ẹ̀ báwo ò kájú ìyá ni ó yá pensioners FM kétékété ló ń dún mélòdì pensioners FM 106.7 FM kétékété ló ń dún.